Good afternoon, Patriot pals. Thank you for joining me. Have a good day and God bless you. Let's get into the news. We've got some good news coming out of GOP-controlled state legislatures. And this is really good. This is an article updated today over at the Epoch Times. GOP-controlled state legislatures weigh constitutionality of presidential executive orders. So what this is about is Joe Biden has a 105 executive orders to date. 105 executive orders. Now some of those are benign things that have to do with processes in the executive branch or what have you. But there are a dangerous amount of those which are unconstitutional. And they're forcing states and other bodies in government, both at the national and state levels, to have to do things differently or enforce things differently or take actions that are unconstitutional. So some GOP-controlled state legislators have taken steps to look at the constitutionality of these executive orders. Don't forget that Joe Biden came in the very first week with a whole bunch, I think 17 or 14 on day one. Just a reminder, those have to go through the Department of Justice as part of the process. That means that Attorney General Bill Barr, before his early exit, was acting as the interim Attorney General for Joe Biden before even came in. They weren't working on anything Trump wanted. They were already working on the transition to the regime of the former vice president. So here's the beautiful part of this. I want you to hear what they say about Brian Seitz, who is a Missouri General Assembly. Now when they convene in Springville on January 4th, he is sponsoring a bill that would require state lawmakers to scrutinize and potentially disregard some presidential executive orders. This is absolutely phenomenal. This is great. Potentially disregard presidential executive orders after scrutinizing them if they are not constitutional. Under his proposed House Bill 174 of the Missouri House must review all presidential executive orders not affirmed by congressional vote to determine if, quote, they are in fact constitutional. That's what Seitz said. But here is a beauty of this. There are similar bills being introduced at least 9 other state legislatures, of course all GOP-controlled: Alabama, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Iowa and South Carolina. Alright folks, I love how they're going after Elon Musk for his principled stance. That look, I like Elon Musk is interesting character. Don't agree with him the whole Neuralink thing. I have a huge problem with that. But the guy thinks big and goes big. SpaceX really starting a space company with the idea of occupying making human beings a multi-planet species. That's big heavy stuff, folks. Let's push EVs when there's no infrastructure for it. Let's build out an infrastructure and get cars going. Electric cars going? Well, now there is obviously this huge campaign against the genius, or what a lot of people consider him to be, a genius, Elon Musk, for daring to fight back against government control of narratives and cracking down on free speech using third party, this third party being known as Twitter. Here's a Washington Post. The crisis decelerated as Tesla's stock prices plunged nearly 20% this week, largely due to concerns about Musk. Also this week, roughly 50% of 17 million Twitter accounts that responded to an unscientific poll for Musk said he should step down as Twitter CEO after helping create then reverse new policies that proved controversial last week. Historically, he's been a pendulum between genius and reckless. He's on reckless right now. He's way over reckless. This came from Gene Munster, a managing partner at Boot Ventures, who then added it leads people to view him as slightly less of a genius. And then, this is some big news, President Donald Trump accuses Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell of being corrupt and selling out the American people. Pete Buttigieg was fully aware of airline issues heading into the holidays, and chose to ignore them. Ukraine nearly triggers World War III after launching rockets at Belarus, and Democrats say they have an ace up their sleeve in order to block Trump from ever being president. A new book by author Chris Whipple has detailed that Joe Biden has trust issues with his own Secret Service agents. He believes that many of them are secretly pro-Trump, which has caused Biden to second-guess them and whether they are really protecting his life. He's become a little bit nervous or anxious, if you will. He also said that the Secret Service is out to get him and that they invented this story about his dog biting one of the agents in order to get back at Biden. However, that event was proven to be true. Now, just days after Biden's transportation secretary threatened Southwest Airlines for canceling 1,000s of flights, they've canceled 1,000s more. It's an absolute disaster at airports all across the country. 58% of flights scheduled for today were cancelled, which is brewing massive trust issues with the airline industry. While Southwest continues to blame the issue on the massive storm that hit the Northeast. Critics are saying that Southwest underinvested in technology, and this is what is at the heart of the issue. In addition to this, it's come out that Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg knew the airlines were having issues, and just kind of hoped that they would get resolved on their own before the holidays and winter storms. So he made no effort to intervene and apply pressure to the airlines. Nor did he intervene to offer help from the government in order for this disaster to be avoided. And now we're dealing with thousands of cancelled flights and millions of frustrated Americans. The country of Belarus has claimed that they've had to shoot down missiles being fired on them from the country of Ukraine. Belarus decided to act calmly and not retaliate and align themselves with Russia. But they stated that this was a very serious event, having rockets fired up their country, and that they have reached out to the ambassador of Ukraine to investigate. Well, Ukraine's investigation resulted in Ukraine having accidentally fired missiles on Belarus, and they said that these aren't missiles. However, this can't be a normal part of war, or else they're going to usher in World War III, as countries don't take kindly to being bombarded with missiles. Now Ukraine needs to be very careful because Belarus could very easily side with Vladimir Putin and pummel them with their own stockpile of missiles, just like Putin has been doing. Putin and the Russian Federation Army have slammed Ukraine with over 120 missile attacks since Christmas. The last thing Ukraine needs is Belarus to have a reason to join in on bombarding Ukraine with more airfire from missiles. Now luckily, Belarus acted calmly and did not overreact violently. Or else I could be sharing very different news with you today. Elon Musk's car company Tesla has seen a massive hit to their stock, down 11% in the last 2 days. In just the last month, they've lost almost 50% of their shareholder value. Musk is spending a majority of his time trying to clean up Twitter, which has led many Tesla shareholders to believe he's abandoned the company. To add fire to this, Musk has become increasingly more political, as he points out some of the collusion that has happened with the federal government and social media platforms. However, Adam Jonas from Morgan Stanley has voiced long-term support for Tesla and believes that it will go back up, and just from that it jumped almost 20%. Now in a memo to Tesla employees and indirectly the Tesla investors must set not to get caught up in the volatility of Tesla stock. Tesla is a great company with a great future ahead of it. One analyst believes that Tesla could have a massive positive comeback in 2023, and so many people are still banking on Tesla being a great investment. Speaking of stocks, most major stock indexes are up today on average by 1.5%. And gold and silver are also up today. Former President Donald Trump took the huge win today after the January 6 committee withdrew the subpoena, which would require Trump to produce private documents and testify before the committee. They stated the reason for this decision is mainly due to the fact that the investigation is over and that the new Republican-led House will not continue to investigate their own. Former President Trump took to social media to tout his victory and proclaimed that they withdrew because he had done nothing wrong and they had no evidence. Trump also stated that the recent report from the FBI may have played into their decision. While I understand where Trump is coming from, I think they withdrew likely because the investigation is over. And they're hoping that the DOJ or the FBI will take over from here. The FBI had concluded months ago that there was no armed insurrection at the Capitol, even though they've continued to arrest almost 900 people that entered the Capitol illegally. Former President Trump also announced today that if re-elected, he would do everything in his power to save and improve the Social Security program. He said it is a great program that Americans faithfully pay into and deserve it to be there for them when they need it. He urged his fellow Republicans to fight for Social Security. Trump suggested Republicans seriously look into using some of the Democrat Green Agenda money to save seniors in the Social Security program. Trump also said if made president he would revisit abortion with 3 major exceptions. He would allow abortion for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. If a doctor deemed any of these, then the women should be able to make their own decision. He said there has to be some give. The Republicans cannot just demand there be no abortion across the country. Trump also declared that Trump has been declared the most pro-life president in American history by left-leaning media. Trump also suggested he strongly believes that Democrats have blackmail or something hanging over Senator Mitch McConnell. Otherwise, why would Mitch McConnell consistently stab his own party in the back? sandbag helping win a midterm election and give Democrats a $1.7 trillion spending bill. Instead of waiting 2 weeks until Republicans led the majority in the House of Representatives. He said that there should be an investigation into Mitch McConnell, his wife and their business dealings throughout his career as a career politician in Washington, D.C. Democrats announced last night that if they can't get the Department of Justice to bring criminal charges against Donald Trump, they have one more trick up their sleeve to block him from ever taking office. They said that they will fight for the next 2 years to banish the Electoral College. They say if they can get rid of the Electoral College, there will never be another Republican president. Nor will Donald Trump ever set foot in the Oval Office to run the country again. Biden is being criticized for being an absolute hypocrite, after he just required travelers from China to show a negative COVID test before entering the United States. When Trump did something similar, Biden stated the pandemic was and has unleashed unfamiliar forces of aid, fear and xenophobia that he always flames that have always existed in this society. Biden basically accused Trump of being a racist and xenophobic due to restricting travel from China. But then when he did it himself, the media is completely silent and actually says this is a really smart move by President Biden. You know, I think it is a smart move. I think it was a smart move when Trump did it. I just wish that they were testing people at the southern border as they pour into the country because we have no idea who's coming in if they have COVID or anything like that. Thanks for sticking around. Follow me daily. I will do my best to show you. There's a lot of information that shows what's going on. Remember where we go. 1.